First of all, I'd like to thank Bishop Stowe and Karen Abbey, the director of the mission office, but above all, your pastor, Father Paul, for giving me this opportunity to speak to you this morning. My name is Father Tom Carroll, and I am a Piarist father. It's spelled P-I-A-R-I-S-T. We pronounce it Piarist. Like where you put a boat at a pier, then put an I-S-T on the end of it. I have to say it that way because I've been introduced as a parish father, Piarist father, pianist father. Once even, it's hard to believe, someone introduced me as a pirate father. But Piarist is the way we say our name. Like many groups of priests, we take the vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience, but we also take a fourth vow, and that is educate youth. So wherever we go in the world, we open up schools. Back at Easter 1988, the Piarist Fathers in the United States had a meeting at their school outside Philadelphia. And there they made a decision to open up a new school. And they put down two conditions that had to be met. First, it had to be in a place where it was impossible for Catholics of high school age to receive a Catholic high school education. And there are many places in our country like that. Second condition, it had to be in one of the poorest areas of our country. And for a couple of reasons, our attention was being drawn to eastern Kentucky, which is part of Appalachia, a region that's known for its poverty. One of the things that caught our attention was an article in the United States News and World Report, which in that year, 1988, ranked Kentucky last among the states in the quality of its educational programs. And then we learned there was a new diocese being formed, the Diocese of Lexington. And we thought it'd be nice belonging to a new diocese. Kind of grow with it. So we approached the new Bishop of Lexington, told him our plans, and asked him where in his diocese, which is made up of 50 counties, where should we look to establish a school? And he said, I want you to take a look at the Big Sandy region. Now, the Big Sandy is a river that separates Kentucky from West Virginia, so I'm talking about as far east in our state as you can go. And the Big Sandy region is made up of 6 counties. It's about 100 miles north to south, 50 miles east to west. When we went there to check it out, we found the poverty we expected to find because it's part of Appalachia. But we learned a couple of other things too. Like there's only 2 employers. The coal industry, and by that I don't mean just the mining of coal, but those that truck it, those who make and repair the machinery used in the mines, those who work on the railroad that hauls it, and the school districts, which are, for the most part, county-wide. And unless somebody knows somebody in the coal industry or on the school board, they have very little chance of getting a job by which they can support a family. Catholics in the area number less than 0.5% of the population. There were 3 parishes and 5 mission churches, and 3 diocesan priests ministering to the Catholics in 6 counties. Well, since the nearest Catholic high school was 120 miles away here in Lexington, this place met the 2 conditions. So in September of 1988, I was sent with just my personal belongings to Eastern Kentucky. And one of the 3 pastors said, well, you need a place to stay, so why not stay with me for the first year? Well, you learn about the people, their customs, their culture, their background, their fears, their hopes. And I did. The following summer, a second Piarist joins me. And now we got to find a place of our own. But we were lucky because there was a group of Benedictine nuns in the area. And on the grounds of their monastery, they had a vacant house. And their superior said to me, "Why don't you move into that vacant house? And then you can become our chaplain." Well, I hesitated for a moment, but she noticed that and she quickly added, "Oh, we got to eat supper with us too." And I said, "We'll move in." And there's an organization founded by a Catholic priest called the Christian Appalachian Project, which does a lot of good for the poor in eastern Kentucky. In 1984, they built a high school, but for a number of reasons, in 1988, it closed. And when they heard that we wanted to open up a high school, they approached us and said, "We have the building. Would you be interested in leasing it for $1 a year?" And of course, we took it. Now, why have these people in these organizations and others like them, why have they gone out of their way to help us get established? There's two reasons. First, those who have been working among the poor in Appalachia for many years are convinced that the only way of ending the poverty that is there is by providing young people with a good education so they can go away to good colleges and good universities and someday come back and help this area economically. That's a dream, but it's the only one they have. And very often the public schools are not able to fulfill that dream, and it's not completely their fault because they don't have a tax base from which to work. In some areas of eastern Kentucky, 2/3 of all high school students drop out. They do so because they realize they're receiving a poor education, so what's the point in going to school? Or they don't know anybody in the coal industry or on the school board, so they're not going to get a job when they graduate, so attending classes is a waste of time. Or maybe their parents haven't gone past the sophomore year of high school and they feel they shouldn't go past the sophomore year of high school either. And the parents, because they're so afraid of their young leaving the area, don't discourage them. But let me give you an example of a poor education. I can think of our office manager. Very good office manager, but she talks about our high school. She said, "You know, we had to have one semester of astronomy. And our final grade was based on the final exam. And the final exam was made up of one question. Name the planets. If you can name the planets, you got an A in astronomy for that semester." The second reason people have helped us out is to spread our own Catholic faith. If I asked you, what organized church do you think most of the people in Appalachia belong to? Most of you, after recalling it's part of the Bible Belt, would take a guess and say the Baptist Church. And to a certain degree, you'd be right. Most of the people in eastern Kentucky that belong to an organized church belong to the Baptist Church. But in a survey done by the Southern Baptist Convention, in the county where I live, 89% of the population is unchurched. They don't belong to the Baptist Church, the Methodist Church, the Church of Christ, no church at all. In a county that borders us on the north, 94% of the population is unchurched. And when I read that report, I went to a priest who really knew the people and their background. And I said, "Can you explain to me how 90% of the population is unchurched?" And he said, "You're forgetting the background of the people. This helps explain the fear that parents have of their young leaving the area. 95% of the population in eastern Kentucky can trace their roots back to people who settled there before the Revolutionary War. They came mainly from England, Scotland, Ireland, and Germany, couldn't find work in cities like Baltimore and Philadelphia, so they moved into the Appalachian Mountains. And there they literally carved out an existence for themselves. But no priest went with them. No minister went with them. But they were people who knew their Bible, and today they still know their Bible. And they have a great love for Christ. And they call themselves Christians. It's just they don't bother belonging to a church. And yet, in this area, the Catholic Church is slowly growing. When we opened up our school, we made a decision that many people thought was foolish. We said there'll be no tuition. We thought we could do it because we were getting a building for $1 a year, and the Piarist fathers themselves receive absolutely no salary. But we thought that if we had a tuition of $500 a year, there'd be people who couldn't pay that. Wouldn't apply, and we would be defeating our purpose in being there. And every year, something happens to make us realize that we made the right decision. For instance, I could think of a girl named Jennifer who wanted to come to our school. But 2 weeks before school was to begin, I hadn't received her registration form. So I called her home. And I spoke with her mother, and she said, "We want to send in the registration form, but you want $20 to go with it. And we don't have the $20. I said, "Forget about the $20. Just send in the registration form." In February of that school year, I had a chance to sit down and talk with Jennifer's mother. She said, "There's myself and my $3. We get $295 a month plus food stamps, but we have to pay our own electric bill. And last month for January, it was $190, which left the 4 of us with $105 plus the food stamps for the month. And yet we have lay teachers to pay, utility bills to take care of, school supplies, office supplies to purchase. We can't get the money from the people because they don't have it. We can't get it from the pastors of the parishes because they have to go out every summer making appeals to get the money to get their parishes and their mission churches through another year. And we can't get the help from the Diocese of Lexington because the Diocese of Lexington is known as a mission diocese. You know, there's a lot of beautiful horse farms here around the city of Lexington, but 2/3 of the diocese is in Appalachia, and there are no farms there of any kind, just hills. And that's why I've come here. And I did come here just to ask for your help. I came here to beg for it. That you be as generous as possible when the second collection is taken up. And I would like to remind you at this time that if you write a check, write the check out to Christ the King. And then down in the memo section, put Piarist Fathers, and then you drop that in the second collection. But I want you to be clear about how that money is being used, and break it down into 3 ways. First, to give young people, whether they be Catholic or non-Catholic, and most of our students are not Catholic, but to give them all good college preparatory education with the hope that someday, after graduating from college, after gaining some experience, they might return to Eastern Kentucky and open up a business that will employ 10, 12, 15, 20 people. 4 weeks ago, we had our 25th graduation. And I'm proud to say that every single member of those 25 graduating classes has gone on to college. Second way in which we used is to spread our own Catholic faith. We do this in many different ways. Distribution of food, clothing, some of the things that you might do here. This one, I don't think you do here. Distribution of school supplies to kids in the public schools. See, public schools have what they call their resource centers. And every year we get a phone call from a resource center saying something like, "We've run out of primary paper and our funding has run out. Can you help us?" And we'll send over primary paper to the resource center for them to give to the teachers in the public grade schools. Our school's located in Johnson County, and there are 4 public schools, public grade schools in Johnson County. All 4 of them asked us for help this year, not just with school supplies, but one with beds. They identified 6 children that were sleeping on floors. They could provide the beds, but they asked us to provide blankets and sheets and pillows, and we did. Another one, they have the custom of putting food on Fridays inside students' backpacks when they know that these students might not get anything to eat on the weekend. So they asked us, do we have large backpacks to give them so the kids can put their books in, but the teachers or whoever can put food in on Fridays. And we did that too. We all belong to a mission church. You're here, we're there, but we can't do the help without the people like you here. And some of that help also goes to help people in ways I never would have thought of, like the man that telephoned one morning and explained the pipe on his coal-burning stove got too hot during the night, and the roof caught on fire. They put the fire out, but they have a hole in their roof. Could we supply them with sheet metal to cover it? They can do the work, and they just didn't have the money for the sheet metal, and we did. So as I say, we're all part of a mission church. So when that second collection comes up, be as generous as possible. And since I doubt if anybody here has ever heard of us before, near the entrances are pamphlets like this, blue pamphlets. Pick one up when you leave, take it home with you. And when you have a chance, read a little bit more about the Piarist Fathers and our history. But on behalf of the Piarists that work with me, the young people in our school, and the many, many people living in the hollers of Eastern Kentucky that you'll be helping, I want to thank you. And may God bless you.